Everything went to hell the moment the Silent Knight appeared. To stop them, Jin Quan-ho, the fourth-generation leader of the Northern Heavenly Sect, stepped up. They call him the Northern Wall, and watching him work, the name feels like an understatement. He charges into entire armies alone, sweeping through them like they owe him money. Before him, the world was pure chaos and people were just waiting for the end. But Quan-ho doesn't fight alone. He has his pillars, the four great northern generals, a group with absolutely no filter when it comes to a massacre. To understand how we got here, you have to go back 130 years. The Masters of Merim got tired of running and founded the Central Heavenly Alliance with a simple plan. Create a sect to do the dirty work and keep the villains at bay. They chose Buk Jin-Hu as the first leader and gave him every tool imaginable, from forbidden techniques to elixirs, to make him unstoppable. Under that logic, the sect became the most respected place on Earth, crawling with warriors looking to make a name for themselves. Back in the fray, the four generals are showing exactly why they're the bosses. First is Zhou Qianwu, the Demon Fist. The man has more strength and patience. Wherever his fist lands, he wipes it off the map. Then there's Kyungmu Sang and his Storm Spear. He moves so fast you're a human sieve before your nerves can even tell your brain you're dying. To top it off, Yaon Qianhua emerges from the shadows with his cursed ghost blade, gliding through enemies and slicing them apart with surgical precision. The final member of the team is Jae Hyok Shim, the iron-blooded sovereign. He handles that whip like he's just shaking out a garden hose, but with the force of an earthquake. He shatters the ground, sending half the world flying with terrifying ease. With this elite quartet, the infamous Silent Knight was effectively erased from existence. It was all glory and victory until reality hit them like a freight train. Look at young Muwan at 13. He already had bags under his eyes that suggested he hadn't slept since the sect was founded. His old man, Jin Quan-ho, was on his knees and on his last legs. The famous Northern Wall had crumbled to pieces, and not because of any outside enemy. He looked up to find an entire army from the Central Heavenly Alliance blotting out the sun. It was the end of an era and the start of a nightmare. The Nine Skies appeared, men who think they own the world and pull the strings from the shadows. Their spokesman was Seo Moonhwa, a guy with a snake-like face he couldn't lose if he were born again. They accused Jin of betraying everyone and selling out to the Silent Knight, a textbook frame job to get him out of the way now that he was no longer useful. Jin defended himself, claiming he'd always lived with honor, but these men couldn't care less about the truth. What truly broke his spirit was looking to his side. His so-called brothers, the four generals who had fought by his side for decades, were standing there silently, siding with his accusers. They sold him out for a taste of power and a seat at the new table. He realized he was more alone than the last survivor in a horror movie. His lifelong friends were now just background decoration, waiting for the formalities to end so they could go collect their share. Quan-ho knew that if he fought back, they'd all be slaughtered. He looked at his son, who was standing right there watching his father's honor be dismantled, and took the only exit left to save him. He let out a roar that made the stones vibrate and gave his final order as leader. As of today, the Northern Heavenly Sect is no more. He dissolved everything, sent the disciples home, and told them to find a life elsewhere. Jin Quan-ho had just bought his son's life at the cost of his own legacy. It was a deal that left the boy homeless, nameless, and without a future, but with the privilege of breathing tomorrow. It was a total surrender, the only way to keep the boy from being massacred before his eyes. To seal the deal, he asked the Alliance leader not to lay a finger on the kid. The man agreed out of obligation, mostly because he had every other faction leader watching him, and he couldn't afford to look like a monster in front of the world. With his son's life secured, the old man decided to close the deal his way, a whispered apology to Muwan and a blade through his own chest in front of everyone. The boy ran desperately through the rubble, but the Northern Wall was already history. 100 years of glory vanished in a single afternoon due to a pact between traitors, leaving the heir alone against the world. Fast forward 3 years, and things haven't improved. The kid wakes up in a rotting dungeon, surrounded by a group of lowlifes who look like they haven't bathed since the sect fell. The leader of this gang, a man named Zhang Pei-san, is sick of playing babysitter in this hole. His mission is clear: squeeze the location of the secret manuals and weapons the sect buried before it vanished out of the boy. Anyone else would be begging for mercy, but the kid just laughs in his captors' faces. With a terrifying calm, he reminds them of the promise of immunity the Alliance big shots made to his father, a life insurance policy these low-rent thugs just decided to ignore. Since Muwan won't even give up his name, one of the thugs decides the boy has too many fingers and lops one off to make him start talking while he bleeds out. The boy knows that even though he's on the floor and wounded, the one who just signed their death warrant isn't him. It's the idiot holding the knife. The Silent Knight vanished from the map, and everyone swallowed the lie that they were no longer a threat. But with the Northern Heavenly Sect dismantled, the Central Alliance didn't waste a second sending their own dogs to mark the territory. They claim they're here to keep watch, but we all know the truth. It's pure, suffocating control. The place was left in ruins, a graveyard for what was once the pride of the North. This pack of mercenaries isn't here to clear rubble. Their real target is Jin Muwan, a 16-year-old boy who remains the final loose end for those in power. Their orders are crystal clear. Make sure he never learns to throw a punch, and never let him even dream of revenge. Acting as his guards is just the perfect excuse to keep him under a thumb. And here he is, Jin Muwan, the heir to the most powerful sect in the region, reduced to hammering iron just to keep from starving. The captain of the group, a man with more beard than patience, finds it all suspicious, but he's stuck in this wasteland for 3 years, so he has no choice but to accept the job. The kid already realized the new owners have arrived. He knows things are about to get ugly, but he doesn't seem worried. He's long since grown used to being treated like an outcast. After all, they already stripped him of everything he had. The famous Tower of 10,000 Spirits stands completely hollow now. The 4 great traitors of the North took it all. Every technique for the sword, the fist, and the foot. They left absolutely nothing behind, all to get in good with their new masters. Meanwhile, Mu-won survives on the memory of his father, who named him leader in the middle of the massacre. The man bequeathed him a sect in ashes and a death sentence, ensuring his son would never know a single day of peace. The ghosts of the past won't let him sleep. The boy wakes up screaming. The faces of the traitors burned into his mind, drenched in sweat, and his heart hammering against his ribs. He gets up, chokes down some rice, and goes back to the grind. The world outside is desolate. For miles around the sect, there isn't a single trace of life, just dead earth and the echo of a fallen power. He walks among ruins as broken as his own spirit, swinging his hammer as if he could reshape his fate with every strike. But peace is a luxury he can't afford. The mercenaries interrogate him ruthlessly, hunting for secret martial arts manuals as if they were buried treasure. They have him bound and bleeding, screaming in his face, but the boy doesn't flinch, not even an inch. He warns them that if he dies, the world will know the difference between a suicide and a murder, and their bosses won't be merciful toward those responsible. Look at him. He's got more backbone than survival instinct. The captain draws his sword to end it right then and there, but his own men hold him back. He knows the kid is right, and that looking for anything of value in this dump is a total waste of time. In the end, they cut him loose, though the bearded captain, maybe out of a shred of guilt, tosses him a rag to clean himself up. He offers an apology as if that could erase the mess he made, then leaves him there, alone with his wounds. The boy weeps from pure, unadulterated rage as he tries to pull himself together. He's not buying anyone's lies. If those loyal disciples actually existed, they would have pulled him out of this hellhole years ago. The truth is, nobody cares if he draws breath. They're all just waiting for him to die so they can pick the bones clean. But even though they took everything, there is one secret those traitors can't even fathom. The ultimate martial art isn't a book you can burn or lose. The secret is right there, in plain sight, carved into the walls, the ceilings, and every corner of these ruins. The Northern Heavenly Sect isn't just his home. The entire fortress is the manual. The traitors took the paper, but Jin Mu-won kept the library. Mu-hei is throwing a massive fit, claiming he just broke a tooth on his food. Poor Taepyeong is covered in soup with his daughter sobbing at his side, yet he remains eerily calm through the chaos. He knows this isn't actually about the meal, it's about a grudge this man has been nursing for 15 years. Back then, Taepyeong was the undisputed top disciple of the monastery, and Mu-hei couldn't even touch the hem of his robes. But the champion was eventually set up, losing his meridians in a trap before being kicked out like trash, leaving this envious hack to inherit the title by default. Now the guy is back to finish the job and humiliate him, but Taepyeong isn't buying the act. He knows Mu-hei has always been a pathetic liar. In fact, he broke that tooth years ago, tripping over some roots, and lied to his own master just to save face. Looking at this clown, Taepyeong feels more pity for how far the monastery has fallen than fear of his shouting, and that silent judgment is exactly what pushes Mu-hei over the edge. Unable to stand a powerless man looking down on him, he delivers a blow that sends Taepyeong flying into the wall right in front of his daughter. He's a real tough guy, the kind who only picks a fight when he knows the other person can't swing back. The girl rushes in to protect her father, but the bully takes offense at her even touching him and looks ready to cross a line he can't come back from. At the next table, a woman from the Iron Brigade snaps her chopsticks in pure rage, ready to intervene, but her companion stops her. He knows getting involved means buying into a political nightmare they don't need, so he orders her to stay put even as things go to hell. Suddenly, a new kid with more guts than common sense steps up and squares off against the monk. He claims to be a bodyguard, but he's shaking so hard it looks like he'll fall apart before the first punch is even thrown. Mu-hei sneers at him, disgusted that a mere laborer would dare address him. The young man tries to apologize to save the innkeepers, but it's clear this monk doesn't have a merciful bone in his body. When the kid stands his ground and insists his work is honorable, the monk finally snaps. He swings his blade in a lethal arc, aiming to take the boy's arm clean off. But Jin Mu-won isn't the type to stand by while an innocent is butchered. While everyone else just watches, Mu-won catches the blade with 2 fingers as easily as if he were plucking a fly out of the air. The sound of the barehanded catch sends a dead silence through the entire room. Mu-hei can't wrap his head around where this monster came from. Someone who didn't even blink at his technique. Mu-won introduces himself as the boy's big brother and tells the monk to walk away, his gaze cold enough to freeze blood. His pride wounded, the monk lunges with a desperate, clumsy strike. Mu-won doesn't even flinch, shattering the weapon with a single blow while explaining exactly why the man is a disgrace to his order. He leaves a gash across the monk's cheek and shuts him down hard, leaving the monk's subordinates to scramble forward in a pathetic attempt to salvage what's left of their master's dignity. The low-rent monks lunge at him, screaming for him to shut his mouth. Jin, looking more relaxed than a man grabbing a casual coffee, calmly tells Mun-jung to use the chaos to get the girl and her father to safety. The kid doesn't hesitate for a second. while the three clowns try to surround our protagonist, convinced that having him outnumbered gives them a fighting chance. Jin weaves through them like he's on a dance floor, parrying their blades with his bare hands and starts taking them apart without breaking a sweat. A kick to the ribs here, a heavy right hook there, and he even finds the time to duck a sword thrown at his back. It's like watching a bunch of level 1 noobs trying to raid the final boss before finishing the tutorial. The ringleader, the one with the fresh gash on his face, loses it, screaming bloody murder and swearing he'll kill him. Poor guy doesn't realize he just ordered a beatdown with express delivery. Jin grabs him by the collar and starts raining blows onto his face with zero mercy. He hits him so hard and so fast, the guy is seeing stars within seconds. A sickening crack echoes through the air, and the monk collapses to his knees, sobbing and drooling, unable to process how his life fell apart so quickly. The Iron Brigade mercenaries just stand there frozen. They can't decide whether to applaud or run for cover before they get splattered with blood. And just like that, Scarface's modeling career is over. If he looked mean before, he's a regular Picasso painting now. The guy just couldn't catch a break today. Jin hauls Mu Hei up by the neck like a bag of trash he forgot to put out. Everyone knows the Kongdong monks are sore losers, and crossing them is basically buying a front-row ticket to your own funeral. With his face looking like a topographical map of bruises, the monk tries to hide behind his sect's reputation, barking that the monastery will move heaven and earth to erase him. Delusional to the end, he doesn't realize Jin couldn't care less about hierarchies. Jin just stares at him with a terrifying stillness and asks if he really thinks a name is going to save him. When Jin suggests that if the sect is really that much of a nuisance, he'll just wipe them off the map, the monk's soul practically leaves his body. The protagonist seems perfectly willing to forcibly retire the entire sect if they keep getting on his nerves. That's when Lady Yoon, the merchant leader, shows up, her face twisting in horror at the carnage. She starts laying into him, not out of concern for her people, but because her contract is ruined. She treats Jin like a rabid dog that just scared off her best customers. As the monks are dragged away, still muttering about vengeance, Lady Yoon continues her lecture, but Jin shuts her down hard. Mun Jung watches the whole thing in disbelief. The quiet blacksmith he knew turned out to be a one-man wrecking crew with zero patience for arrogance. Jin points to the trembling in-boy and gives her a crash course in leadership. A real boss protects her own instead of licking the boots of thugs in robes. The mercenary leader is breaking into a cold sweat, caught between stepping in and being blacklisted by the monastery, or watching this unhinged blacksmith dismantle regional diplomacy with his fists. The woman is forced to swallow her pride, though she's clearly spiraling over the legal nightmare heading her way. With the patience of a saint, Jin assures her he'll handle everything. He's a guy who believes in permanent solutions. If the monastery is the problem, the solution is for the monastery to stop existing. After all, it's much easier to negotiate with a sect when there's nobody left alive to file a complaint. Jin stands his ground and makes it clear, from here on out, we do things his way. If the boss lady doesn't like it, he'll take the boy and leave her to deal with her own drama. She reluctantly agrees. She knows damn well that without Jin, her chances of survival are zero. The mustachioed bodyguard steps in before any more teeth fly, suggesting everyone get some sleep and figure things out in the morning. The guy doesn't get the wait-and-see approach when the enemy is already at the door. He feels like they've let a lunatic onto the team, but it's too late for a refund now. Meanwhile, Jin sends Mun Jung to get the beds ready. The kid bolts to do it, happy that someone is finally treating him like he matters. Then the guy in light blue shows up, acting like some survival expert, but Jin cuts him off before he can even start. He's sick of hearing about protocols and temple names that don't mean a thing to him. The man in blue insists you have to be a human calculator to keep your head on your shoulders, clearly confusing cowardice with intelligence. Jin shuts him up with an uncomfortable truth. If martial artists only exist to prey on the weak, then they have no reason to exist at all. The man in blue starts sweating as he realizes Jin isn't just some meathead who hits hard. He's a man of principle. And in a world this rotten, that's the most dangerous thing you can be. Jin ends the night determined to bring light to the darkness, even if it kills him. He's a professional optimist. The world calls him suicidal, but he's decided this is exactly why he learned to fight. What a legend. Mun Jung is a total wreck, sobbing by the fire. He's drowning in guilt, convinced his own uselessness ruined everything. Jin cuts him off, delivering a cold reality check on survival. In the world of martial arts, the weak end up 6 feet under while the strong stand on top. It's that simple. His mistake wasn't having a good heart. It was sticking his nose into a mess he didn't have the strength to clean up. But to get the kid to stop blubbering, Jin throws him a bone, admitting that saving those 2 lives took real guts. "You did the right thing," he says, giving him a firm pat on the head to steady his nerves. Mun Jung wipes his face, his eyes lighting up as he remembers the fight. He asks how Jin managed to snap a steel blade with just his bare fingers. Jin explains it's all about the craft. He spent his life as a blacksmith, forging his own path and his own steel. Basically, unless you're a master artisan yourself, picking a fight with Jin is a suicide mission. You'll be left picking up the pieces of your pride while he looks down on you with pity. All those hours hammering metal sharpened his eyes to see the flaws in any common blade instantly, allowing him to shatter them at their weakest point. That's when he recalls how he got his current gear. Someone brought him a hunk of black rock that had fallen from the heavens, a sacred relic of a slaughtered tribe that no longer had a master. The challenge was turning that meteorite into something useful, and Jin didn't take the task lightly. It took 2 years of pure, back-breaking labor and sweat. During that time, Jin transformed from an unassuming smith into a man with a physique built by the anvil. The constant training gave him the kind of frame that demands respect. He became obsessed with taming that stubborn rock. It refused to yield, no matter how hard he tried to sharpen it. The metal was so dense it ground his whetstones to dust, but Jin wasn't about to back down. He sat before the blade, determined to see who would break first in a war of pure endurance. And right then, just as he reached his absolute limit, a haunting violet energy began to bleed out behind him like a ghost. That light wasn't for show. It was the sign that Jin had finally finished his masterpiece. Drenched in sweat and utterly spent, he looked at his life's work and named it Snowflower. It's a delicate name for a weapon that reeks of bloodlust. He knew he had a problem on his hands. If he let his guard down for even a second, the blade would consume him. It's pure, concentrated malice just waiting for an excuse to kill. Back in the present, as they rest by the fire, the vice leader of the Iron Brigade appears. She's an imposing woman who drops a tray of food in front of them without so much as a bon appetit. Munjung thinks they're being recruited with a few simple dumplings. Poor kid, he actually thinks they're being nice out of the goodness of their hearts. Jin, however, can feel the shift in the air. He orders the boy to get lost and head back to the tavern immediately. He senses danger closing in and doesn't want any witnesses when the show starts. The monks of the Gongdong Monastery emerge from the tall grass, their pride clearly wounded. Leading them is Mu Guang, a man with a flashy hat and the ego of a king. He's come to claim that Jin harassed his disciples, even though it's obvious Jin just gave them the reality check they deserved. The other monks aren't here for a chat. They start calling for blood right then and there. They claim Jin is a threat to the monastery, and Mu Guang is more than happy to play along. The man has the arrogance of someone who thinks he's untouchable. He offers Jin a chance to repent, giving him the 10 seconds he needs to adjust his grip. Measure the distance and decide where to strike first. Jin is done listening to excuses. He grips the hilt of his new treasure ready for its debut. The Snowflower is screaming for action, and these men are about to learn that fighting a blacksmith is one thing, but fighting the man who forged his own apocalypse is another entirely. They have no idea what's coming. Damn, things just got real. If Jin put in that much work to beat a literal meteorite into submission, you guys better smash that like button with that same energy. Subscribe to see Snowflower absolutely shred those monks and comment which manhwa you want to see hit the anvil next. Peace out.